I told our guys afterwards, I said, you know, the great lesson in that game is if you play with purpose and stay true to what your plan is, then you can be in any game, anytime. And they did a great job. Marian did a great job of that. They're obviously expertly coached. They did some fun stuff that, you know, will give us great chance to look at video and to learn how we can do better. But defensively, we were okay. You know, once we started making shots, obviously, it felt a little bit more comfortable.
Were they keeping you out of the paint a little bit, or
no? Actually, I thought they were going to play. They played one-on-one in the post the whole day. They dig a little bit off the guards, but you know, I've been around Coach Lick long enough to know that a lot of times he's going to make those guys score in the post, and you know, that's part of the game plan is not to give up shots. We got a good ball movement, some good action in the second half, and Andy and Chase kind of started us off and made shots.
Team kind of struggled a little bit finishing close to the basket. Is that just something to work through right now?
Yeah. You know, you could make a pretty good argument that that some of that's jitters and some of that's we got to get better at finishing. You know, even when you're a senior, even when you're a junior, you get out there for the first time, it's a little bit different. You know, maybe I should have done like a blue-white scrimmage last week, or do something where at least you get in front of the crowd, so it's a little bit different. The lights are on and it's different, and so. But I thought we settled down and made some plays in the second half.
Brad, you had 8 3-point baskets in the second half and 4 2-point baskets. You alluded to that a little bit, finishing the paint. Are you kind of indifferent to that? I mean, the threes you got looked like everybody was in rhythm at the time and none of it was forced.
Yeah, really was. You know, I thought we had good action, and I thought we did our job in that second half on some of those actions. And then those guys stepped up and knocked it in. You know, you get Kellen and Andy and Chase wide open shots. They're going to knock those things in, especially in rhythm. And you know, I'm not even telling you about a guy that many think is probably the best shooter in the country. So you got a lot of options out there, especially when Andy's playing at the 4.
Did you sense at all that Rodney was nervous or really trying to, you know, just trying to do so?
I played in more minutes than I would have. That was, you know, just get any rust there is out. And there's not much. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. And, you know, and we haven't, you know, we didn't do maybe the last couple days like we normally would. You know, he'll be fine.
Chase, can you kind of talk about those pieces around you and what that's like on the floor? Right? You know, just one game so far, but you got Andy, Rodney, and Kellen out there alongside you. How do you feed off that?
I mean, it's nice because we spread the floor out so well with those guys out there. And I mean, it's kind of like pick your poison. Either guard us and we're going to get it to our bigs, or help down on our bigs, and hopefully one of us will make shots. So it's really nice that we can spread the court, penetrate. We got Rose in there penetrating and kicking, and it's really nice to see that cohesive.
A little different feeling than last year?
Yeah, I mean, it takes pressure off one certain guy. You know, you're not really, you can't focus, the defense can't focus strictly on one person. So, I mean, it's nice to know that. You know, as soon as heads turn, they're looking at one guy, they're looking at Rodney, they're looking at me, they're looking at Andy. The other 3 on the court are, you know, capable of making shots anytime.
Chase, haven't been around this team a lot, just started the season, but do you sense that there's a real, I don't know, hunger or even edginess to this team after you know, back-to-back national championship games and not even getting a tournament last year?
I mean, obviously, last year wasn't the way that we wanted to end, and we got a lot of guys that like to compete, and we get after it in practice, and you know, we show that every day in practice that, you know, if we do what we're supposed to be doing, then we're going to be, you know, there at the end of the day. So
that practice has been pretty, I don't know what the word is, intense or you know, difficult as practices as you've had experienced.
Yeah, I mean, guys get after everybody. I mean, on the defensive end, there's times where the offense can't even think because the defense is yelling and screaming and, you know, swiping and all that stuff. So I mean, people like to compete on this team, and it just in turn helps everybody out when we play another team.
Chase, I don't know, you first season I think when Brad was here. Do you have any kind of relationship with Coach Licklider? Did you get Coach Lick recruit you out of Newcastle? Or?
I've known Chase since 2004. So yeah.
Coach Stevens was assistant when I committed. So Coach Licklider was the head coach when I committed here, and then he obviously went to Iowa. But yeah, I know Coach Licklider really well. He's a great guy, great coach.
Did he recruit you much, or was it mostly Brad?
It was mostly Coach Stevens.
Do you almost have 2 different packages for when Andrew's on the floor when he's not. Looks like there's a lot of moving pieces, especially when he's not on the floor. How do you go about that from a coaching standpoint with the different pieces you have?
You know, I think one of the interesting parts, you know, we've got to continue to get Andy more comfortable at a couple of different positions because he's really, you see his body. He looks really good. He's worked really hard what he could do, and he feels good. He's moving so much better than he was last year. The surgery was obviously extremely successful. He feels great. So we've got to figure that out, and that'll also help us figure out those moving parts a little bit more. You know, we wanted to move him to the 4, and you know, if he can play some 3 and some 4, that's a really good thing. Kind of the way we used to play Pete or Drew or somebody like that.
You mentioned Pete. Have you also been influenced by the fact you mentioned a lot of times in the Horizon League, the 4 who shoots well has been difficult for Butler to match up with?
Well, I think, you know, you talk about where can guys be most successful, and it may be game to game, but certainly, you know, he can go on you saw it today, he can go on a 6-0 run pretty quick, as can Chase, as can Kellen, as can those guys. So, you know, I think that gives you an option. And what I really liked with Andy was he had a couple of plays that I thought were really physical, aggressive. He dove on the floor after being on the ground on one end. You know, he really played hard, and for a guy that hasn't run a lot, he hadn't done much until practice started. He's only 2 weeks into playing again. So he's pretty good today, and we can keep building off that, but it gives you different options, different looks.